Now, born in the Eastern Cape, our first music guest entices audience with his richly charismatic voice. Former Goldfish member Sakhile Moleshe has gone on to make a name for himself as a solo artist. He's a composer, pianist, guitarist and a vocalist who has managed to perform not only on South African stages but beyond our borders. Sakhile Moleshe is well on his way up to solidify himself as one of South Africa's finest. He now joins us in studio to tell us more about himself and his music. Welcome to Morning Live, Sakhile.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I know I've already said a lot about you, but let's look at your journey.
Yes.
You're a former Goldfish member.
Yes.
I'm a huge band with actually a very huge following as well.
Absolutely.
How did you make the transition from being part of a group to being a solo artist?
Yeah, I think straight from university where I studied in Cape Town, where we met with the group, there was always this dream I had while in the practice room to travel internationally and to make my mark. And they kind of took me from those practice rooms to world stages in places such as Ibiza, Brazil, Amsterdam, London, Paris, all the places I'd always dreamed of going to. But I think the transition is more important to go from a dream complex as a young artist to the destiny complex, where there's a lot more at stake. There's a lot more personal introspection that has to take place for you to understand what your true trajectory as an artist should be. So it's a very difficult one because a lot more falls on your shoulders, whereas at the beginning it looks like the fame is ready, steady, made, you know. So it's a constant progress, and self-introspection, I think, is at the center of it, because then you come into your destiny and become a fully realized artist and human being.
And speaking of being a fully realized artist, I mean, if you look at the sound that Goldfish has, it was a mixture of genres.
Absolutely.
How would you describe your sound?
Right. Well, again, it's the reason why I was in a group that has a mixture of sounds is because there's something about taking something from every little influence and creating something that is your own. I think for me, my process is about, I'm a people watcher. So I like to take the stories from the streets, take stories from people's eyes, zone into people's emotions and see what I can create from that. So, but the willingness at first to share your gift with people is very important into understanding what space you occupy as an artist on your own. So that's something I've really tried to focus in on and value as well, the process.
Let's go back to your studies. You've got a Bachelor of Music degree from the University of Cape Town. You mentioned that's where you met the rest of the members of Goldfish. How important is it to have formal training when being a musician? I
think it's a two-game table. It depends what the outlook of the education system is with regards to the student, and that always shifts with different role players involved. But I think if we as young musicians and do what our elders have done. I mean, at the University of Cape Town I had mentorship. I started not being able to read music. By the time I left there with the degree, I could take my talent to the world. A lot of credit goes to the institution. But the difference is, does an institution have knowledge or information? Because if they don't guide you towards the path of knowledge, it can all just be overwhelming information. Whereas if the education is knowledge-centered, then you have an understanding of yourself within that information and how to create a bigger mark beyond, the walls of education, so to say.
And I think I want to touch on the business of music because that's an important one. Let's look at the importance of innovation. Music is now digital. In fact, everything is digital. How do you transition from, being a live performer to making sure that your music is heard and listened to commercially, but also bought digitally as well?
Yeah, it's something that requires the artist to be very vigilant about. First of all, you have to be proud of your work. And if you're going to put your work in the public domain, you have to understand the path that work is going to travel along. So I think the most important thing is take use of the innovation. I'm one person who started producing with a friend on a desktop, and only 2 years later have laptops and be sending each other files from hotel rooms. You can go with a laptop and just a MIDI controller to Table Mountain and make music from there. That's how much the digital innovation has gone, and we need to take advantage of that.
Now, just finally, quickly, what are you currently working on, and where can we expect to see you in the near future, beyond our stage, of course?
Yes, I've completed my debut album. I'm now doing all the administration to make sure that that's released and comes out into the public domain, as well as I'm working on a website where I can have all my digital assets just centered in one place. So my name is Sakhile Moleshe. just look for that name, you'll find me there.
Sakhile Moleshe, thank you very much. We're definitely excited to be hearing your sounds. That was musician Sakhile Moleshe talking to us about his music and, of course, his future endeavors. Simpiwe and I are back with more news after the break. Don't go anywhere.